In a small village deep in the Nigerian forest, people lived in fear. For many months, a terrible spirit called the Night Watcher had been taking children away in the dark. The villagers were scared and didn't know what to do. The village was a quiet place with mud houses and thatched roofs. People grew yams and cassava in their farms. They fished in the nearby river. Life was simple but good. That was before the Night Watcher came. It all started one night when little Adebayo, a boy of 6 years, went missing from his home. His parents woke up to find his bed empty. They looked everywhere, calling his name. The whole village joined in the search, but Adebayo was gone. At first, people thought Adebayo had wandered into the forest and got lost. But then, more children started to disappear. Always at night. Always without a sound. Soon, everyone knew it wasn't just bad luck. Something evil was in their village. The elders of the village met to talk about what was happening. They sat under the big baobab tree in the village center. Chief Okafor, the oldest and wisest among them, spoke first. "My people," he said, his voice shaking, "we are facing a great danger. I have heard stories from my grandfather about a spirit that takes children. I think it is the Night Watcher." The other elders gasped. They had all heard tales of the Night Watcher, but thought they were just stories to scare children into behaving. "What can we do, Chief?" asked Mama Neka, the village's best farmer. "How can we fight a spirit?" Chief Okafor shook his head sadly. "I do not know. But we must try something. We cannot let this evil spirit take more of our children." The village herbalist, a thin man named Chidi, stood up. "I have heard that the Night Watcher fears fire. Perhaps if we keep fires burning all night, it will stay away." The elders agreed this was a good idea. That night, every family in the village lit a fire outside their home. They took turns staying awake to keep the fires burning. For 3 nights, no child was taken. The villagers began to hope that their troubles were over. But on the 4th night, despite the fires, little Amara disappeared from her bed. Her mother's cries woke the whole village. The fires had not worked. The villagers were losing hope. Some families started to leave the village, moving to stay with relatives in other towns. But most stayed, determined to find a way to stop the Night Watcher. One day, a stranger came to the village. He was a tall man with gray hair and a long beard. He carried a staff made of twisted wood. The man said his name was Obesai, and he was a spirit hunter. Obesai asked to speak with Chief Okafor. The 2 men talked for a long time in the chief's hut. When they came out, Chief Okafor called all the villagers together. "People of our village," the chief said, "Obesai here says he can help us catch the Night Watcher. But he needs our help." The villagers listened closely as Obesai explained his plan. "The Night Watcher is strong, but it has weaknesses," Obesai said. "It cannot stand the touch of iron, and it hates the sound of drums. We will use these things to trap it." Obesai told the villagers to collect all the iron tools they had: hoes, machetes, and cooking pots. He asked the village drummers to be ready with their drums. Then he taught everyone a special chant that would weaken the Night Watcher. "Tonight," Obesai said, "we will catch this evil spirit." As night fell, the villagers gathered in the center of the village. They formed a big circle, holding their iron tools. The drummers stood ready. In the middle of the circle, Obesai drew strange marks on the ground with white chalk. "Now," he said, "we wait." Hours passed. Some people got tired and sat down, but no one left the circle. The night was very dark. There was no moon, and clouds covered the stars. Suddenly, a cold wind blew through the village. The fires flickered and almost went out. A shadow darker than the night itself seemed to move between the houses. "It's here!" Obesai shouted. "Start the drums. Say the chant." The drummers began to play, their rhythms fast and loud. The villagers chanted the words Obesai had taught them, their voices rising together. The shadow jerked and twisted as if in pain. It tried to flee, but the sound of the drums and the chanting held it in place. Slowly, it began to take shape. The Night Watcher was a terrible sight. It was tall and thin, with long arms that almost touched the ground. Its skin was black as coal, and its eyes glowed red in the darkness. It had no mouth, just a blank space where a mouth should be. The spirit howled, a sound that chilled everyone to the bone. It lashed out with its long arms, trying to grab someone, anyone. But whenever it touched the iron tools, it pulled back as if burned. Obesai stepped forward, holding his staff high. "Night Watcher," he called out, "your time of terror is over. We bind you here and now." The spirit hunter began to speak words in a language no one understood. The marks he had drawn on the ground began to glow with a soft blue light. The Night Watcher thrashed and fought, but it couldn't escape. Slowly, it was pulled towards the glowing marks. As it touched them, there was a flash of bright light. When the villagers could see again, the Night Watcher was gone. In its place was a small, dark stone. Obesai picked it up carefully. "It is done," he said. "The Night Watcher is trapped in this stone. It can never harm anyone again." The villagers cheered and hugged each other. They had won. Their children were safe at last. But their happiness was not complete. What about the children who had been taken? Were they gone forever? Obesai had an answer for this too. He told the villagers that the children were not dead, but trapped in the spirit world. Now that the Night Watcher was caught, they could be brought back. The spirit hunter led the villagers to a cave deep in the forest. At the back of the cave was a pool of still, black water. Obesai threw the stone with the trapped Night Watcher into the pool. There was a great splash, much bigger than the small stone should have made. The water in the pool began to swirl and bubble. Then, one by one, children began to appear at the edge of the pool. There was Adebayo, the first child taken. There was Amara, and all the others who had disappeared. They were confused and scared, but alive and unhurt. Parents rushed forward to hug their children. There were tears of joy and shouts of happiness. The village's nightmare was truly over. In the days that followed, there was a great celebration in the village. People danced and sang, thankful that their children were safe. They honored Obesai as a hero, but the spirit hunter said he was just doing what was right. Before he left, Obesai taught the villagers how to protect themselves from evil spirits. He showed them how to make special charms and taught them protective chants. He told them to always be kind to strangers, because you never know when you might meet someone who can help you. Life in the village slowly returned to normal. Children played outside again without fear. Parents slept peacefully, knowing their little ones were safe in their beds. But they never forgot the time of the Night Watcher. Parents told the story to their children, and those children told it to their own children. It became a reminder to always be brave, to work together, and to never give up hope even in the darkest times. And sometimes, on quiet nights, the villagers would gather around the fire and tell the tale of how their small village defeated a fearsome spirit. They would remember the fear they felt, but also the courage they found. And they would be thankful for the peace they now enjoyed. As for the Night Watcher, it remained trapped in its stone at the bottom of the pool. Sometimes, people said they could hear a faint howling coming from the cave. But no one was afraid anymore. They knew that as long as they stood together, no evil could harm them. The village prospered in the years that followed. More people came to live there, drawn by stories of a place that had faced great evil and won. The village became known as a safe haven, a place where people looked out for each other. Chief Okafor lived to a very old age. Before he died, he called the villagers together one last time. He reminded them of the lesson they had learned from the Night Watcher. "Remember," he said, his voice weak but his eyes still bright, "that there is no problem too big to solve if we work together. And there is no night so dark that dawn will not come." These words were carved on a stone and placed under the baobab tree where the elders met. It stood as a reminder of the village's darkest time, and the light they had found within themselves. And so, the story of the Night Watcher became more than just a tale of terror. It became a story of hope, of community, and of the strength people can find when they stand together against evil. Even today, if you visit that village, you might hear this story told around a fire on a dark night. And if you listen closely, you might learn something about facing your fears and finding the hero within yourself. For in every village, in every town, in every city around the world, there are dark things that come in the night. But there are also brave people ready to stand against them. And as long as that is true, there will always be hope. That's it for this video, folks. Be sure to subscribe to our channel Pigtails for more stories like this one. Leave a comment letting us know what stories you'd like to see come to life. Don't forget to like and subscribe for new African tales and fables every week.